Good evening and welcome to the Press Box. My name is Melissa Ponzio, and for the next 30 minutes I'll be your host. Let's welcome Jay and Ty. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Just fine, thank you. I'd like to remind our audience that we are a live show. If you'd like to call in, the number here is 873-6713, and we'd love to hear from you. And let's start things off with the Atlanta Knights. And do you think they'll take it tomorrow?
I think so, Jay. And one of the key issues here, I think, is getting Chris LaPuma back in that lineup. But one of the things that I look at with this Knights club is how they handle the puck in their own end, and I think they got a little bit sloppy Sunday night. I think getting him back in the lineup to play at least some minutes with that shoulder injury. Also, I think Steve LaRouche has just been awesome in these playoffs. He had 6 goals in 2 games. I think they've been riding that line. And I look for that line to be productive tomorrow night, and I think they're going to win it.
Yeah, I also think they're going to win it tomorrow night. I think LaPuma will come back just for, like you said, token minutes, since it'll be the championship and he'll get to skate around and all. But I don't think he's completely healed from his injury. They haven't really missed him defensively, I don't think. He's a great player. He probably should be in the NHL and has had a stint up there. But Rochefort's played good, and yeah, I think they kind of, subconsciously led up in game 6, was it? No, 5.
5.
So that they could come back here. Fans have been great in Atlanta, I think, and I think they're close to a sellout, for tomorrow night's game. Place should be packed and rocking, and I think they win it all tomorrow night.
Who do you think is going to start in goal tomorrow?
Bergeron.
I think it's going to be Greenlay. Immediately we disagree.
Talking about the injured player, do you think they really need to put someone like that in?
Well, I think to get a few minutes because he's such a leader on the team. I mean, you got a player like Chris LaPuma, and that's someone that the team looks up to. Another factor is that the Knights are not that much of a physical team compared to other teams in the league.
But LaPuma is.
LaPuma's very physical, and he's a leader out there, and they really miss his presence. So I think even a few minutes is very significant for the team.
It's token minutes. Like I said, his shoulder injury is going to keep him from being physical. But he'll skate around, and like Ty said, he'll, grow into the team leadership role. He's missed that, I think, last couple games sitting on the bench.
Okay, well, how many other players do you think are ready for the NHL?
Well, the paper mentioned that a couple of defensemen, Corey Cross and Sharon, were ready.
What paper was that?
The Atlanta paper, and I disagree with that. I don't think they are ready. I think they're too careless with the puck in their own end. I think they need another season in the IHL. You have those guys skating around being careless in the NHL around players like Pavel Bure or Yzerman or Lemieux or Gretzky. They're just going to be eaten up alive, and it'll hurt them.
Well, there'll be a learning process for any young player in the NHL, but I think that LaRouche definitely deserves a shot at the NHL. I don't know. I guess it's his size. But,
I'll agree with that.
But he's just been kept back. I mean, every time he seems to get a chance to go up, they pick someone else, and he's been passed over. And
why is that?
He's really carried the Knights through the playoffs, like Ty said. I don't know. It may be where he needs to go to another organization or not. I'm just speculating. I like LaRouche, and I'm sure the Atlanta Knights front office likes him. But, it may be they don't need a type player like a workman like fast skater like LaRouche in the parent club, Tampa Bay. He may have to go to another organization to get his break in the NHL, but he definitely deserves it, I think.
Other players that I like Bill McDougall a lot. You see a player like McDougall, when it comes down to an important face-off at the end of the game, you see McDougall taking that, and he wins a lot of them. I think also he's just a quick skater and makes things happen. I really like him as a player, Jay. I like Stan Drulli a lot as well. I think he's an NHL caliber player as well. And I think you might see some of those guys in the league next year.
Yeah, you might. But the best player the Knights have is Devin Edgerton. And I think that he's also too small to get a shot. But if they let him work with a decent line or a penalty-killing unit up in the NHL, they'd see how really good he is.
We shall see how your picks pan out. I'd like to remind our audience that we are live, and you can call in at any time. The number here is 873-6713. And let's move on to the NHL and the Rangers offense. And where is it?
That's a good question. I wish I knew the answer as well, because I thought that team would be winning the Stanley Cup this year. I still think the Rangers are going to win that series with New Jersey. The problem with their offense, for one thing, has been Martin Brodeur, who's been a great goalie for New Jersey in this series. I think another situation has been the coaching of Jacques Lemaire and the work that he has done, having his team hold New York to only 20 shots in the win over the weekend. Not the last game, but the game before last, Jay. They only got 20 shots on goal, New York did, and that is a very potent, powerful offensive club. I think it's been coaching, and I think it's been Brodeur.
Well, some of that was the Rangers didn't let on people that were injured. Graves was injured, and Messier was injured, and Leach, who's even he's a defenseman, but he's an offensive-minded defenseman. Those guys were hurt, and everyone wondered why they didn't play that much in Game 4, if you remember correctly, the one where they only got 20 shots. And it was just like, it was almost like they were saving them, you know, and the Ranger fans were going, why are they saving them? And then it came out after the game that they're all kind of hurt. And they got banged up even more, and now injury situation, you know, I think on paper the Rangers, like Ty said, should win this series and win the Stanley Cup. But when you get into a series where you have to play every other night and you're hurt, there's nothing you can do about it. And I think the Hawks found that out with their loss at Indiana. You know, they were nursing some injuries, and then the injuries got worse, and it was like, now we need to step it up and just play real hard, and I can't because I'm hurt. You know, you run into that in the playoffs, and if this happens to the Rangers, then they'll certainly, I don't think, have a good chance of winning that series. New Jersey's just on their game. Brodeur has been playing great, and I just think that New Jersey right now looks like a fresher, like healthier team. When you watch the games, they just look that way. Don't you think?
Yeah, I can go with that, but still, it is going to be so important for New Jersey to win Game 6. And I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on them because if they don't win Game 6, if the 7th game is going to go back to Madison Square Garden, and I don't see them beating New York 2 times in a row on that ice over there. Also, New York's longest losing streak this year has been 3 games. They've lost 2 in a row now. And it's going to be awfully tough to see them lose 3.
Well, what about the injuries? The injuries will take effect of that.
The injuries will be significant, but New York has got a deep club, and that's a team loaded with money. They have a lot of good players.
Yeah, they do. Part of the injury problem, I think, is Mike Keenan's coaching style. He runs a hard practice, and he does it even during the season. He makes everybody skate long hours. You know, it's one of the old blue-collar hard work makes a great team, and that may be coming into play here too, whereas other coaches, when their players are injured, it's just like they're excused from practice or workouts or shoot-arounds or whatever. And I think in Keenan's case, he never excuses a player from any kind of team function, and this may be coming into play now. I don't know whether the Rangers will have the stamina to pull this one off.
Well, I think they will, so we'll see.
Yes, we will.
All right, let's move on to Toronto. And do you think they can overcome the 3-1 deficit?
I think Toronto is the team that's really in trouble here. I think the Rangers are okay. Toronto, I think, is in a lot of trouble, and that's simply because of Kurt McLean, Vancouver's goalie. I mean, this guy has gotten 2 shutouts in a row. He's had 4 shutouts in the playoffs. Vancouver, like I said last week, Jay, reminds me so much of the Montreal Canadiens last year, winning close games into overtime and getting great goaltending. Kurt McLean is really on his game. As a matter of fact, I picked Toronto in this series, and I made a major mistake of actually underestimating Kurt McLean and what he's done. I think Vancouver's going to finish him off before 7.
I don't know. This is a classic matchup. I think Toronto is bigger and more physical, and they're stronger, and Vancouver is quicker. And in any sport, the quick team can come back, but the big, strong, physical team has to get ahead and maintain a lead. So what's happened here in the past couple of games, I think, is Toronto didn't get the lead, so they couldn't just lean on them and crush them along the boards. And you know, it could go either way. I think that if Toronto gets the lead, they'll be able to hold them off. If Vancouver gets off to a lead, Toronto, like Ty said, you know, they're not the kind of team that's going to come back. They're in trouble then.
Okay, well, I thought we had a phone call. Excuse me
Well,
for interrupting. Ty?
Well, Brodeur, McLean made 29 saves the other night.
He's definitely on his game.
He's on his game, and those scoring chances that Toronto had, those were good scoring opportunities. So as long as he is anywhere close to that game that he's playing right now, I think Vancouver's a cinch for the finals.
Okay, guess what? We do have a phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air. Hello? Maybe not.
What's that noise?
So to some, we think Toronto's going to take it?
He does. I think Vancouver
I don't know.
will.
You know, what you can do with a hot goalie like that when you're a physical team is slam into him, give him a punch to the face or whatever, you know. See if you can mix it up with him, get him off his game. I'm sure Toronto's going to try something like that because they're a physical type team. They're going to do something, skate into him, smash him in the face, do something like that.
Maybe.
I can see it happening. I mean, it is hockey after all. NBA playoffs, and can the Knicks cool off the Pacers? I see the little Pacers pin here.
No, Green Bay.
Oh, I thought that's the Pacers. Go ahead.
Who are they?
Well, I don't think New York's going to cool them off. I think they're going to stomp them. That's what I think is going to happen. They beat them 4-0 during the regular season, and New York matches up with Indiana well. Indiana, against the Hawks, had a whole lot of advantages. First of all, they didn't have anyone who could handle Smits unless they double-teamed them. Well, when Smits turns around now, he's going to see Patrick Ewing. The big Davis guys, the two Davises, the big, thick forwards who got a lot of rebounds against the Hawks, they're not going to be able to do that against New York. There's going to be players like Oakley getting in their way. And then Reggie Miller, I think, is going to find a much tougher assignment in having to play against Starks than he did against the Hawks guards.
Okay, they're not going to win it 4 straight, though. The Knicks.
No, I predict the Knicks in 5.
Well, the Knicks are definitely going to experience a letdown. They went through a tough series. I think everyone in the NBA thought the Bulls and the Knicks. That was the Eastern Conference Finals. There. It doesn't matter who else did. It wouldn't matter if the Hawks advanced, Indiana advanced. It wouldn't matter if Orlando was in it. The winner of that was going to go to the NBA Finals. And now you're going to see the Knicks. I mean, it's just human nature. They're going to experience a letdown, and Indiana is well rested. So Indiana may take one of these first couple games, and Indiana's going to win a game in Indianapolis.
They'll win their one game there, Jay.
Okay, well, they'll win one of these first games in New York because New York will be too tired, and there'll be that letdown.
No way, I don't see it.
But in a long 7-game series with the Knicks just absolutely mashing them inside, like Ty was talking about, they got Oakley and they got Mason. I mean, you know, the Hawks just didn't play physical enough with Indiana. What you got to do is slap them around. You really got to push them around, and the Knicks will do that. They do that to everybody. So you can see that coming. I really think the Knicks are going to take this, but everyone's going to panic at first.
Well, we have a phone call right now. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Hello, you all.
Hi.
And also, fellas, you all have been doing a good job for the past few weeks holding up the fort. But, of course, Melissa, it is the grand poobah of the Melissa Foundation.
It's the grand poopess.
Hey.
School is out, honey, child.
How you
Welcome
doing?
back. I'm doing swell.
Good. Glad to hear from you.
Especially now seeing how you will have the next 3 weeks, or rather, the next 3 Tuesdays at 9 o'clock right here on People TV Channel 12.
That's right. I need you to be my publicist because I think you love me so much. And I
Right.
know that we
Love
work
it.
good together. All right?
Yes, Lord. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for the call.
Thanks for calling. Now, let's get back. Now, you mentioned the Hawks.
Was that an NBA call or
It
an
was.
NFL call?
It was.
Okay, all right.
Hey.
He likes Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, but you're a grand poopess, not poopah.
Now,
Okay.
let's get back to the Hawks.
Well, first of all, I want to talk about Indiana because when they were playing against
By
the
all
Hawks,
means, please, run over me. Don't even act like I'm here.
Well, when you look at this Indiana club and their shooting percentages against the Hawks, they were shooting at 50% or a few percentage points over that. I think New York's going to bring that down below 45%. I think Indiana is going to have some people come off the bench. They're going to have someone else besides Reggie Miller or Rick Smits come off and play some great minutes for them. I think Byron Scott's going to be very valuable to that team to help give them some outside shooting.
Well, he's got playoff experience to help him. I think one of the reasons the Pacers shot so well against the Hawks because they weren't being kneed in the groin and slapped in the face. I mean, the
Which
Knicks,
we all like to see.
the Knicks are just going to hammer them every time they go up for a shot, and then their shooting percentage is going to go way down.
Okay, well, we have a phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air. Hey.
I got a question concerning the Hawks, and I was wondering what could the Hawks do for next season? I mean, what off-season moves could help them get even further in the playoffs if they can get further? Either one, you can answer that question.
Okay, thanks for the phone call.
Thank you.
Okay, the first thing that comes into my mind is Danny Manning. What is he going to do? And they need to sign him. That's the first thing. If you sign him, do you trade him? Do you keep him around? The Hawks need outside shooting. They need another guard who can put it up, or they need a forward who can put it up. When they traded Dominique Wilkins, they lost an inside-outside player, and they got Danny Manning, who's just an inside player. Stacey Augmon is a bricklayer outside of 16 feet. He's a great transition player, but outside shooting, no. And so you're having to depend on Craig Elo coming off the bench, and you're having to depend on Mookie Blaylock, who needs to be passing the ball and not shooting the ball. I think that's the main concern here. I think you need to get more out of your center. I think with Concac's out there, he can hit a few outside jump shots, but he gets killed underneath in rebounds. I think those are the two areas where you need to improve.
Definitely outside shooting. I think they need a backup point guard. And I think they need to, if they're not going to get rid of Concac or Willis, they need to supplement their inside game with a banger, like I was just saying. In the Indiana series, they weren't physical enough. They need to get someone that can just hammer somebody when they go up for a layup. But the outside shooting that Ty touched on is definitely their highest priority. As far as Manning, I think they need to sign him, but Elo is the guy they need to sign more. I think Elo has already said he's going to test the free agent market. He'd rather play here but he's going to see if he can get some more money elsewhere. I think they need to work on getting him back. That he was a tremendous asset this year.
Yeah, that's one guy I'd really want to keep around.
Well, we have a phone call now. Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, guys, what's up?
Hey.
I wanted you to comment on the fact that Olajuwon was named MVP today over Shaq. What's going on there?
Over Robinson. Shaq was 4th.
Well, I think Shaq should have got it.
No, Shaq's too busy doing rap records. It should have gone to a basketball player. Olajuwon, he lives for basketball. You don't see him doing any rap records. Thanks for the call.
Okay.
Thanks.
That's a good point, though. Today they announced NBA MVP, and it was Olajuwon.
Well, you remember earlier
Second
in
was
the year.
Robinson, yeah.
Earlier in the year, we talked about that around the middle of the year, and you liked David Robinson. I thought
Yeah.
it would be Scottie Pippen with a great job he'd helped with Chicago.
He finished third, and then Shaq finished 4th. But Olajuwon is a good choice now.
That's a great
Okay?
choice.
I mean, he's definitely a good player, but Robinson got shafted on this, okay? Just so that I can stick to my pick. The Admiral was the best player in the NBA this year.
Hey, whose team was playing?
And we believe
I
you.
didn't
We
say
believe
that
you
he was
so
on
much.
the best team. Did I? I think
Okay.
Olajuwon is on a better team. That's why they've gone farther.
Okay.
We have another phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air. Hello?
Sounds like a train.
Maybe not. Oh, well, call back. We'll get to you. Did we talk about Houston and Utah?
No, we haven't, and this is going to be interesting here. Well,
Speaking of Olajuwon,
yeah,
Right.
Speaking of Olajuwon, get that segue in, Jay. This team, well, these two teams played last night, and Houston pretty much dominated. They had a 20-point lead in the first half and held on. The game was pretty much even statistically, except rebounds. Utah held a big advantage in rebounds. They had 10 more rebounds. But the three-point shooting, Utah was 0 for 5. Houston was lighting it up. Houston shot three-pointers last night better than the Hawks shot regular field goals during the playoffs. They shot around 42% last night. So if they keep that up, anywhere close to that percentage, over 33%, I think Houston is going to go to the finals.
yeah, I think the best team in the West was Phoenix, and they're gone. And so as far as Utah and Houston go, who cares? But if I was going to pick, it would be Houston because Utah is just they don't match up with Olajuwon, and their guards are good. Stockton and Hornacek, they're real good, but like they didn't match up last night for some reason, and they don't show up on the road. I don't understand why their guard tandem can play just brilliantly, like all-stars, any home game at the Salt Palace, but then they go on the road and they look like Ned in the first grade.
Well, we have a phone call. Hi, caller, you're on the air. Caller? I think we might be experiencing some technical difficulties.
We're going to have to call a phone company.
Right.
Or pay our bill. Either one.
I haven't been here in the past couple weeks, and I know we had a couple times off there a couple weeks. But how do you feel about the fighting in the NBA and the penalties that are leveled against the players? Do you think it's fair? Do you think they need to step it up? Because it's getting really physical out there.
Well, I think one thing you need to do is where all the frustration starts is with all the chatter and the talking, things that you don't see on TV, but it's happening out there. I think that if
During the game?
right,
or
during
before?
the game, I mean, these guys get right in each other's face during the game, and you've really got to stop that somehow because the result is you're going to see a lot of fights out there. Players don't like to be intimidated, so what's the next step? Well, they're going to try and push each other around, and that leads to one thing and then leads to another. I think that the referees need to step in and start using better judgment, start using some common sense. I realize it's sometimes tough for the NBA, but you can do it and go out and make some decisions. I think that's the first step you need to make. And if that doesn't work, where you're having to call more technical fouls and slowing up the game, I think that you just need to start suspending these people and not pay them. And when these guys stop getting their paychecks or getting a slight cut in them, it may stop then.
Right.
It could. They also could start making them play a man down. Someone gets in a fight, maybe you have
Put
to
them
play
in a
with
box.
4 players. Play with 4 players for the rest of the quarter or whatever. Now, I really think that Ty touched on it. It's the trash talk and it's the intimidation factor. If any of you have ever been to an NBA game and sat near the floor, the language is atrocious, and they're constantly swearing at each other and picking at each other and taunting each other. And you got to start calling that. You blow the whistle and call a technical foul, and then tell both teams that from now on that's going to be a technical foul. That will stop, and then the intimidation factor will go down. However, some of these fights occur because of hard fouls. Now, that's always going to be a part of the game. You have to hard foul someone going in for an easy dunk in the playoffs if you want to gain respect defensively. And it's just like pitching inside in baseball. It's something that's just, you got to do it. It's got to be a part of the game, okay?
Right.
So if a player chooses to respond with a fight, then Ty's suggestion of suspension is, I think, a good one. You got to just take that guy and tell him he can't play anymore because hard foul is part of the game. Sure, no one likes to be fouled hard on their way to the hoop, but they got to realize that, hey, they should maybe be playing in the CBA if they don't like that.
Jay, suspend them without pay. Suspensions with pay is called vacation, which
Yeah.
I can't get enough of.
Well, they have to do something because the fines now. A guy signs an $84 million
Right,
contract,
that's my whole
and
thing.
then he's fined like
What is-
$2,000.
What's $12,000 to a
Yeah.
man that makes $60,000 a game?
That's
it's
like
a
a
tax
free
write-off.
beer at Dirty Al's for
Exactly.
us.
Dirty
Right.
Al's.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
right.
All right.
Hi, caller, you're on the air.
Yes. I just wanted to know what you think about the Smoltz 8-game suspension and the Cangelosi 4-game suspension when he was the one who charged them out.
Well, he was the
Right.
one that got plunked.
Well, if you watch the tape, Smoltz actually hip tosses him, and that was the deciding factor of giving him more game suspension than the other because he intentionally, that's what they ruled on, that he intentionally did that to the player.
Well, I think another issue here is that Cangelosi is out for 4 games, but then a pitcher only pitches once every 5 days, and 8-game suspension means he's maybe only going to miss 1 or 2 turns at the most.
Still, it's the longest suspension in recent history, and I think it's too severe. I think that's why Smoltz is appealing. And I'm sure that he'll settle for a 4 or 5 game suspension where he can miss 1 turn. But I really feel that's unfair. Smoltz should get suspended. He did deliberately throw at the guy, which is uncalled for. I just said pitching inside is part of the game. Yeah, he could have brushed him back or knocked him down, but you can't automatically hit someone because somebody hit a grand slam. Think how many grand slams are hit, and there'd be a hit batsman after every grand slam. You can't do that, but you still have to be able to pitch up and in. I don't think. I think the suspension's too long to answer the caller's question.
No, there was a series before that, Jay, and I think this may have led to a little bit of frustration for the Braves, was that the Braves were knocking some home runs against Philadelphia earlier in the week at home, and then after that happened, then one of their players got hit by a pitch. And so it may have been a little bit of frustration on the Braves' part. You usually don't see a Bobby Cox team retaliate like that.
Now, Smoltz is the only one on the 25-man roster that's frustrated.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, too.
So if it had happened to anybody else, it wouldn't have gone down like that.
It was an awesome fight.
Yeah, it was okay. It was
Well,
okay.
you need to go to more hockey games.
Yeah.
Well, no, I am. I want to go to the game tomorrow, so if anyone has tickets.
It wasn't as good as the guy that threw his glove at Destrada and knocked his glasses off.
Right.
That was a pretty good baseball fight.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the AL East.
Okay, this league, when this division, when it started this year, I thought was going to be one of the more competitive divisions, and it's being everything it's everything as advertised. I think that New York and Boston, I really hope that they can continue playing like this throughout the whole year. That is going to be a great pennant race if we see that. New York and Boston are just hitting the daylights out of the ball right now, and Boston has hit over 50 home runs, which I really wasn't expecting. They've gotten really some nice surprises out of players like Tim Naring for them.
I think that
Hello?
Jay?
I thought it was peacetime. Peace, y'all. But hey,
We're doing
I
a
think
show
it's
here,
good.
babe.
It's a three-team race, though, Ty. Baltimore's up there. You can't count them out. They got great pitching staff. They got Lee Smith. He's going to come on and
Hell,
nail
you
down
can't
those
even
games.
still
They
count
have
out
Lonnie
Toronto.
Smith, okay? They have Lonnie Smith. How can you go wrong signing an ex-Brave? That's why Boston's so good. They got Otis Nixon running down those balls. It made the Boston pitching staff twice as good as they were. And we said that last year, touching on it with the Braves pitching staff being great. I mean, it made them just unbelievable to have Nixon out there run down the mistakes. Now Boston's experiencing that. You can let the guy hit it to the large part of the field, and sure enough, Nixon goes and gets it. But that will be a great race. They at least Toronto, the two-time defending world champion, is buried in 4th place there.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Yeah,
New York
baseball's an American sport, right?
I
Ty?
think New York's been playing a great baseball. Their ERA is one of the better in the American League with a low 4. Their hitting has just been awesome this year.
Okay, well, we have to wrap it up, guys. That's our show for this week. I'd like to thank you both very much. I think
Hey,
it was
you're
a great show. And audience, I'd like to thank you for calling in and remind you that we'll be on next Tuesday, 9 o'clock, so see you then.
welcome to the press box. With me tonight is Ty Reynolds, and we'd first of all like to thank our sponsors, the Atlanta Knights, who won the Turner Cup, and the Sports Authority, and Dirty Owls at Northside, where they should be tuning in now, because I know they don't want to watch that Ranger game. But
No way.
we'll start with the NBA Finals.